to this video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make beautiful sunflowers. Really quick and easy. Now I will talk through some things that I've done in past videos that you might need to re-watch. And the first thing is I've made my own veiner, which is using the silly putty, and this is the veiner that I've got for my sunflower today. Lovely veiner, really simple to do, but if you watch previous videos you'll be able to see how to make that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I've already pre-coloured some paste. It's getting a little bit dry actually, so I'm just going to knead it a little bit, get it warmed up. And I've coloured it with a little bit of sunflower. Now this is just sunflower edible powder by Edible Art. So what we're going to do is make that first petal. Now there's lots of these petals, so I have done preparation. So we're going to simply press down. Now I could probably get two out of here, there's quite a lot of paste. So I'm just going to work on the one side, press down and roll out, and you can see that lovely ridge coming in the centre there. Now the ridge I like to go about halfway, maybe a little bit over, depending on the size of the petal. If it's quite a big wide petal like this one, it's sometimes nicer to be slightly thicker in the middle, just to give that extra support. So we just gently press down. Now I'm working on a green board because I do like to see that the green is just gently starting to come through, and I know that that's nice and thin now and ready to be used. Now if it's sticking, which it wants to today, just gently pull that to one side. Now I'm going to just cut the top off, take those little bits off, I don't need them, and I think that is just outside my petal anyway, so don't panic if it does tear a little bit. Now the gauge wire I'm using for all the petals is a 28 gauge wire. You can go smaller if you wish, and especially if you've got smaller petals. Now I do tend to cut these in half or into threes. So I'm just going to trim that there. So 28 gauge wire, and we gently lift, and I'm just going to press. I'm going to press with my finger and my thumb and gently push with this hand, and we push that in, kind of like sewing, just feeling where that wire is, and I know that wire is there now. So I press down just to seal it on. I don't like using edible glues or water for this particular thing. I find that it sticks pretty well. Now we get our lovely veiner that we've pre-made, or you can buy them, whichever's easiest. A little bit of corn flour, and I'm simply going to place that in the middle, wire always going up the centre, and then I can place my veiner on top and gently press down, nice and gently. Now when we lift, we can see we've got that beautiful vein, and when we lift away we can also see this outer edge. So this is where I'm going to get my cutting wheel, and I just very gently, holding the wire down so it holds steady. In fact, I'm going to turn it around and use the bigger wheel. It is just personal preference which one you get on with more. And then same on the other side. Gently follow it round. There we go, right the way to the top. So that is our petal. Now I love doing it this way because every petal is slightly different, and that's nature. Nature doesn't make things perfect every time, so it is quite nice to have a little bit of difference in there. Now once we've done that, I'm going to bring it onto a little pad here, and then just using my ball tool, just gently go around the edges. Now this is just to thin it more than anything else. As you can see, I'm not really frilling it. I just want to add a little bit of life there, a little bit of movement to that petal. Then once we've done that, we're going to give a little squeeze at the bottom. This will give it the look that it needs, as if it's just growing and bursting out. And then curl back. And then what I like to do is leave it on the pad and leave it to dry. Now if you're making this with me, now is a good time to stop the video and make lots more, because I have already done my preparation, and there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 petals there. So quite a few to get making. So once we've made our 25 petals, then we can do a little bit of colouring. So I'm just going to move it to one side and I get my tissue. Now this is just normal kitchen paper. And I'm going to be using the same colour that I actually coloured in the paste. This is Sunflower again by Edible Art. And all we're doing is dipping a brush in there and then just giving it a little lust of colour. So from the centre, you can see it really does start bringing the petal alive. Always start from the bottom and never go from the pot straight onto it. You'll end up with a big blob of colour. So always just take a little bit off the brush and then gently brush up like so. Make sure that that's folded nicely. Curling back over because this one's still a little bit wet. I would normally wait for them to dry just a little bit more. And that's lovely. Now I'm going to close my tissue. Put that to one side. And then we can move on. So already we have made all of our petals and we're ready to go with the centres. Now the mould that I use for the centres is this one here. It's the flower centre mould by Sugar City. I do sell this on my website. And as you can see, there's lots of different centres, the daisy one. And I do use them all. I think they all look amazing. This is the really big sunflower one. But today I'm actually going to use this one because this is also one of my favourites. So we're going to put a little bit of cornflower in there. And then I have coloured a little bit of brown stroke very, very dark green browny colour here. And I'm just going to get that moving in my hands, get it nice and soft as always. And then very gently we just press into the mould. Now we don't want it to go over the edges, so what I actually like to do is press down and kind of make a little pimple in the centre. So just gently. Now this will help you going forward. Now you can just get a knife and just simply cut that off, like so. And then that'll be perfect. So it comes up a little bit, but not too much. I don't like it to be too big and bulky behind the scenes, if you like, because this will be the back of the sunflower centre. Now we need a stronger wire. We're going to go for a 24 gauge wire this time. Nice strong 24 gauge wire. Now this time I need to do a nice circle coming out of the back of this. So I'm actually going to use my finger. I'm going to hold the wire in between my finger and my thumb, and then I go round, so I've made like a circle. Then I want to bend the wire in to that circle. Now this hasn't got to be perfect because no one's going to see it. It's actually going to fit onto the back there. Now when we've done the wire going across the circle, find the centre and pull that down. So we have this funny looking, I don't know whether you want to call it a ski stick or what you want to call it, like a swirl that comes out of our wire, but that is going to be perfect for putting in there. Now while it's still in the veiner, I'm going to light a candle and then I'm going to actually heat that up and burn it onto the back. So we're just lighting the candle there. And then we get our nice little twirl that we've done. Always make sure your paste is ready. And then I'm going to heat this up. So I'm going to start burning the wire. Now this is a really good thing to do if you want just a very quick way of attaching that wire so that it's not going to fall off. Now we need to make this burning hot. So I keep moving it around, making sure that all of it's in the flame. Bit of black smoke coming up there. And then when we think that that's hot enough, that's burning quite well, straight into the centre. Now you heard that puff of smoke there. I'm going to move the candle out of the way because I'm hoping that has stuck solid. So just wait just a couple of seconds for it to cool down. I don't want you to go straight in with your fingers now, but be careful and just give it a little touch. And yes, that's dried lovely. As you can see, it's burnt straight into the paste. Now what we're going to do is gently release. And there is the centre of our sea holly. There is the centre of our sunflower. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is give it a little dust. Now I'm going to cut this wire down. Just make it a little bit simple to work with. There we go. And you can see it better too. Now the next thing we need to do is add a little bit of dust onto here. So I'm opening up my previously used kitchen paper. And this is Harvest Brown that I've got here. And I'm going to get a load on the tissue just like so. Just mix it a little bit. This has got lots of beautiful colours in it. And then we're going to start dusting over. And don't forget, this is still wet, so just nice and gently, but you can see the colour difference. It gets rid of all that cornflour and it just adds that lovely bit of depth to what we're doing. So we go all the way over. I do like to just touch the edges as well, just to make sure that there's none of that white cornflour lurking around, because that will stand out. So I'm just pressing around the edges, making sure it's all gone, like so. Now once we've done that, we are ready to assemble, which I always think is the exciting bit. So we get rid of the tissue that we've just used. Now I'm going to bring over all of my petals that I've previously made, and they are nice and dry now. And I'm going to use a green florist tape. You can cut it in half just to make sure you don't get a really thick, bulky stem. So just, as you can see, whizzing along with the scissors, barely cutting it, it kind of does it for you. There we go. Lovely. Right, so I am ready with my half-width florist tape and all of my beautiful petals. Now the one thing we do need to do with the petals is just bend them slightly, and you need to think where you want them coming out of this beautiful big centre. Now normally you would bend and you would put it right in there, but if you do that, you can see you do lose a lot of the petal. You have to decide if you want to do that. Now I like to bend it a little bit further out, so then you don't lose so much of that beautiful petal coming out. You need to just spend a little bit of time tweaking to figure out where you would want that to come, and then try and get all of them to match that as well. Now I'm not worried about the shape at the moment. The priority is to just get these around the edge, and I'm not putting lots in. Don't panic if you're not very good at holding everything together. I'm just going to do a kind of quick layer, if you like. So we're just adding a few, and I mean I'm leaving about 5mm there when I bend them, and as you can see it looks nothing like a sunflower just yet. Well, it could be a pressed one. Very squashed one at the moment. Now I'm starting to struggle to hold them, so this is where I would then introduce my tape. Now I'm not panicking about getting right up to the back at the moment. I just want to secure them, and then as I keep adding, I will keep putting the tape around. So just keep leaving that little sort of 5mm gap, and then add that, and we just keep going with that. Now I'm not going right the way up the back either. There's a nice little gap there, and I'll show you why in a moment when we've added more petals. So we keep going. I'm going to spin round again, and as you can see they do start just falling into place, which is lovely. And I know it still looks very flat at the moment, but there are a lot of petals to add, and you can see why I told you to stop the video now because otherwise the video would have been several hours long. So we just keep adding those. You can see they're looking lovely. And then look for the gaps as well. It's really nice to just spot any gaps that you've got and fill them in with those petals. And we don't have to use all of these. Remember I said about 25 petals. Don't feel that you have to use everything that's in front of you. Sometimes it's a case of just stopping and having a look. Do you need any more petals? Do you want them? I think I want another one there. So it is a case of using your personal preference as well. So I'm going to spin that round a little bit, and you can see it looks a little bit messy at the back. I'm not bothered about that because I'm going to be covering it all up with the calyx. So now what we need to do is spin. Now I'm stretching to release the glue, and then I spin round and go all the way down. There we go. Okay, now at the moment it still looks very, very flat. And as I'm looking at it, I still want some more petals there. So I am going to just attach that again and add those petals. So don't think once you've gone down, oh gosh, I can't add any more. You can just keep going with this. I always say as long as it looks beautiful at the end, doesn't matter how you've got there. There we are, and then I'm just going to roll down like so. Okay, so now let's have a look, and as you can see they've all moved again, but that's fine. Now the reason we left this little gap here and we didn't go really close is because when we start moving these up, we need that little gap to make it happen, if you like. So I'm just bringing these petals and bending them up slightly. Now this will start making it look a little bit more realistic as we're going round. It starts coming together. Put that in there. So it is about just moving it around. And how open and closed you want it. Well, they do tend to all follow each other. So I'm going to just make sure all these petals, you don't want something that's straight like this. Although it could be dying. We could have it falling off and it's just about to die. But I don't think that looks great when we're doing flower arrangements. It's nice to have everything alive. So there we are. Just move and tinker them into the positions you want. And that is the start of our sunflower. Now, the next thing to do is focus on the calyx. I'm going to put my other petals to one side. I'm going to put my lovely sunflower to one side for a second. Now, you might have different cutters for this. I personally just use this rose petal, and it's the number 2 rose petal by Squire's Kitchen. It's quite a nice one. And I've got a nice autumn green colour here, which is what I'm going to use to put on the back. So what we're going to do is gently get the rolling pin and start rolling out. Now these are actually quite fleshy, but I struggle with doing fleshy flowers because I just think it looks artificial then. I want them to look as real as possible. So I do tend to roll my paste out thinner than what it should actually be. It's just something I do. I can't help it. So I'm pressing down and rolling out. If it goes around your rolling pin like this, don't worry, just take it off. It's absolutely fine. Now we can put a little bit of corn flour on there. And then I'm just going to press and cut out. Now we need several of these, so let's just cut out 1, 2, 3. We do need lots more. 4, 5, 6. Now this is where I would stop, and then I'm just going to work with my paste again and roll this bit out as well. And I've always got this thick bit just to help me pick it up and move it. So I always have a little thick bit there just to make my life a little bit easier, like so. And then the same thing again, we're just going to cut out and put to one side. Now I am doing this all in one go. I don't tend to cut out and roll one at a time. I find that if I do that, they dry out too quickly, and I want these to be quite wet as I put them together. So last one, I think. There we are. We have a nice little selection. Now always wrap your paste up and put that under your container. And then I am going to vein these, but I'm veining them with the corn husk veiner. So just gently press down. And you can vein several of them all at once with this. So just, I'm going to put 2 along each side, just because it's easier and quicker. No other reason. There we are. And then I fold, gently press down, and then they're nicely veined. And they're not veined, it's just a very gentle vein in there with these lines, which is exactly what we want. Now these veiners we're actually using upside down, the actual shapes. So we actually want the pointed bits to be on the outside. And then squash again. And then take them off one by one. Get them ready on there. Okay, so we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 all together, because we're covering quite a large area at the back of the sunflower. So as I'm picking them up and squeezing them on there. And then let's put that right in the centre, because we're going to come back to this now and use it to just soften the edges. There we go. So then I'm going to get my, you can use a bigger ball tool if you've got one. I've got lots here, but I just prefer to use my rolling pin, because we're just literally softening the edges. And don't forget, this is the point we're using. You're not going to see this bit. So make sure it's the points that you focus on. It's very easy to think it's a rose petal shape and we go all the way around. But actually we don't want that shape at all. So just focus on the points. And we're just softening the edges. I'm not making a big deal of it. I'm just gently softening. So all the way around. And nearly done. And then the next thing we need to get ready is the water. Now I just use water. You can use edible glue. If you're using a porcelain, you can use PVA glue. Whatever you're using, water works for me, I must admit, even on porcelain. So I have my water brush at the ready. Now we need to turn our beautiful sunflower upside down. And then I just randomly, I'm just going to press a little bit of water out and put some water on the backs of all my lovely petals. Now I'm not going too far up. Can you see I'm just touching the ends here? And we're doing that all the way around. And then we start adding our shapes. Now the round bit is going to the centre, and we're just overlapping all the way around. And this is just a quick, easy way of doing the calyx if you haven't got all the fancy cutters. So we just stick them down, and as you can see, it's already starting to look really good. A little bit of water as we go. And then we're just positioning them, and it's covering up all of these horrible kind of wires. I call them the mechanics that's going on, which is exactly what we want. And we keep going round. And I think maybe one more there will do. Okay, so there we are. There we have the back of our sunflower. Now if you are doing bouquets, you can't really see the backs, but I do think it just finishes it off. especially towards the side. You can see that lovely finish. Now, if you were doing a competition, I would suggest that you get a pair of scissors and you just trim these down a little bit. I'm just cutting these rounded edges off, and we're going to be using this shape, and this is just to add an extra layer. So if you are doing a competition, this is well worth doing. So again, a little bit of water right close to that centre, and this just makes that extra little bit of a shape there, which I think looks lovely. And then overlap, don't forget the glue there, or the water, whatever you're using. This is just water. But I just think it makes it really come together. Just adding that second layer, because they have got multiple layers on their calexes. Just really finishes it off for me. And I must admit, you would get extra brownie points if I was judging your competition piece and you'd made it more precise. There we go. And then I'm just going to gently press. Now this just gets rid of any lines there that I don't want. Makes it look more realistic. And there we are. That is our beautiful sunflower. Now I have got one that I'm going to bring over. I haven't quite finished this one, but this is a much smaller one that I've done. Much smaller petals, as you can see. And I haven't done the calyx yet, but much smaller petals, and I have left this back piece much wider, and the petals come right to the end of that. So as I said previously, that's some decisions you have to make as to how you want these beautiful sunflowers to look. But there we have it. Two beautiful sunflowers, very different. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching.